Hey guys, let's say bringing you another video and welcome to a patch note breakdown. So this is for patch 25.12. So we're not quite halfway of the season, but it's close. Obviously MSI is coming pretty damn soon. So the first thing that they're also talking about is the upcoming new Hall of Legend Uzi. We were actually talking about this in Twitch chat today of like, Uzi is kind of a legend. You know, a lot of people knew him. I watched Pro play a bit more when he was playing, and he was a good player, but he's never won Worlds. You know, so to be called a legend, it's quite a, I don't know, weird potentially thing. But it is worth knowing, obviously, with my recent trip to Berlin, with obviously going to Riot and stuff, I did learn a little bit here and there of little areas. And basically, you know, may as well say it, a lot of the exalted skins that we've seen recently that have kind of, you know, not the best reaction overall, that basically happened because of the Faker situation. So the Faker situation happened. He got the first Hall of Legend. It did incredibly well, like insanely well. It beat every record that Riot was expecting, and they basically ever since have tried to replicate that type of situation with the exalted skins, and none of them have done it. Obviously, they're going to now try do another Hall of Legend and see if it replicates it a bit. The problem that you've got is Faker is Faker. He is the legend of League. You know, when we call it League of Legends, yeah, the legend of that league is Faker. So none of them are going to replicate it. Let me know who and what pro would you guys potentially want to see in the Hall of Legends? Because the problem that you've got, we were talking about it on Twitch chat today. People are like, oh, what about Double Lift or Bjergsen? The problem that you've got, and you know, it is something you just have to say, if they're going to do these global Hall of Legends, then 99% of the people that are going to be buying these are the Asian market, because they are the people that care more in this kind of world. And will they buy a Double Lift one? Will they buy a Bjergsen one? Probably not. But will they buy a Faker one? Yes. Will they buy an Uzi one? Yes. So when I'm thinking about legends down the line, Mad Life, you know, people like that, Insec, they're really old, but they were legends of their time. So let me know what you think. But let's get into it. So, big patch today, so we'll see how much detail we'll do, but we'll do a decent amount. We're getting nerfs too, a lot of champions. Ari, Azir, Gwen, Kalista, Nico, Rumble, Senna, Shen, Atalia, Varus, Yorick. Buffs too. Aatrox, which confuses me, because he is strong. He is one of the most common top laners I see in Master games. So that's weird. Aphelios, Aurora, Bard, Belveth, Garen, weird. Jax, LeBlanc, Lee Sin, Mordekaiser, Nidalee, Samira, Twisted Fate, and Zeri. And then champion adjustments to Rammus and Vi. System changes to Atakan, Dragon, and Grasp the Undying. And then a new Ink Shadow skin line, obviously, alongside the Uzi Hall of Legend $500 skin or whatever the hell. This might actually be... Yeah, so we're getting things ready for MSI, so things are going to be more pro skewed than the average. So that is worth knowing. It's one of the kind of things that people have said for years maybe should change. We play on fundamentally the same patches that pros do, and the reason why Riot do that is because little Timmy, who's currently 14 years old and he's already in Master, he has aspirations to go pro. So with little Timmy going, I'm fundamentally playing on the exact same patch, the same balance, the same everything. I know I am playing on the same patch as the pro. So if I do go to pro play, it's not going to be that different. Now, obviously, the game itself is very different of how it's played, pro play to solo queue. But it is true when it comes to the balance. The balance is identical. It's the same patch. So that little Timmy who goes all the way, gets scouted, gets tryouts to a pro team, the champions that he's been playing do not feel different. They are the same strength as what little Timmy was playing in solo queue. That is why they like it to be the same. Now, is that the healthiest thing? Probably not. And the reason why is, yes, the aspiration for every player potentially who plays ranked is that the pyramid, and at the top of the pyramid is pro play. Everybody wants to be the top of the pyramid. But in reality, there's what? 500 maybe pro players in total for League of Legends? Maybe 500? Maybe upward of 1,000, probably not even, where there's last reported numbers, 100+ million players that play the game every month. So potentially not skewing all of the balance to the 500 players may be a smarter thing, but we'll see. Let's get into it though. So Hall of Legend, I don't really care that much about this. If people are into it, I accidentally clicked on it. Yeah, if people are into it, all power to you. I don't really care. So next up, Battle Pass improvements. So there's stuff with that. Catch-up missions. Your shop is returning. And now let's finally get into the changes. So Mr. Aatrox. So again, he is strong. So this is weird to me. So his healing ratio versus champions is going up to 100%. His healing ratio to minions is also going up 5%. So healing across the board is going up. And then his E, champion damage healing ratio, is once again going up for his bonus HP. Dang it. Like, he is not a weak champion, but the thing with Aatrox is, for the average player, he probably isn't that good. Because Aatrox, and this is again maybe that pro skew that we're talking about, you need to be really good to make Aatrox work. You need to be consistent landing 2 out of the 3 Q combos. You need to be landing the chain. You need to be using the E fundamentally amazingly well. So, like, he's a hard champion to successfully be reliably good on. So where I'm playing in Master now, and we've been Master now over a month on the main account, he is the type of champion that is good in Master and above. Is he good in Gold? Probably not. Not as good. Is he good in Pro Play? Probably pretty decent. So it could be more that. So I will say, this scares me because there's already been good Aatroxes in the last few weeks. So I do, by the way, ban Aatrox occasionally. Ori, E charm duration decreased with rank and R cooldown increased. So she's a staple for pro play for a very long time. So they're just nerfing her charm duration for a little bit. Bigger nerf the higher level it is. So it used to be a 2-second charm. It's now only a 1.8. And then her ultimate, though, is getting some compensation eventual... Well, actually, nerfs. No, it's not compensation. Never mind, it's more nerfs. 140 seconds from 130, 10 seconds at rank 1 nerf, 5-second nerf at rank 2, and it's equalized at level 16. So obviously, she is a Malignance champion. She's kind of come full circle, and even though like the whole Rod of Ages meta, that's kind of come and gone, she's back to building Malignance. So it's a low cooldown, but they obviously know she's going to be a pro play pick in MSI. They just don't want her to be all the time. Now, obviously, Fearless Draft will most likely be played in MSI, and obviously that's the tool that I have heard from many, many people is fantastic, and it's helping pro play in many ways, and it's actually helping balance. And if you're like, what does that mean? So Fearless Draft is basically if you've got a best of 5, in each game, game 1, the 10 champions that are played in game 1, they can no longer be played for the rest of the series. So if 10 champions get played in game 1, well, they're now gone. Game 2, another different 10 champions. If you make the whole way to game 5, 50 different champions have had to be played in that series, which basically means pros of having to have a better champion pool, because there were some pros in recent years, and I even know there was some pros that just played like 2 or 3 champions, and that's all they did. Really boring and anti, like, you know, viewership. It's just boring when you know, oh, such and such is just going to play Ornn, and you know he's going to play Ornn. Or if he plays Ornn game 1, he can't play it ever again. So it's improving skill of the general kind of base of pro play again. They have to be more, you know, role mains rather than champion mains. And secondly, it's helping the balance of actually of solo queue League of Legends. So champions that are historically pro-jailed are being less pro-jailed. Because yes, they're still good. You know, Renekton is still good. Jace is still good in pro play. They are still good. They are useful in pro play. But in a best of 3 or a best of 5, they only can be played in one game, not all of the games. And you don't need to waste a ban on that champion if it's been played already. So you don't actually... It's having less gravity to pro play when it only can be played once. And yes, Renekton or Jace or the pro, you know, Gnar, they may get played every single best of 5 once, but that's okay. Where before, a best of 5, a Gnar could be played in all 5 games. They can't now. So they're less of a pro jail, we have to keep them weak champion, because they only can affect one game. So it's overall a very good thing. But obviously with Ari, they are expecting her to be somewhat of a popular pick in MSI. Aphelios, so again, more of a pro play champion, high rating champion, apex tier champion. So again, for MSI, do expect him to be locked in if he has some good strength. You can see that he's doing all right in terms of power right now, but hasn't made the leap to pro play. They're trying to force him to be played in MSI. It's that simple. And again, with Fearless Draft, with each AD carry, if again it goes to a best of 5, each AD carry needs to have 5 different AD carries or champions to play in bot lane. Or at the moment, there's probably 5 in total that are strong in terms of AD carries. So Riot need to buff, to have 10 options that both AD carries can have decent options, So level 1 attack speed going up, and then 2 buffs for the guns. So Savernum and Calibrum. Onslaught movement speed. I think that's the kind of boomerangy thing that he kind of like lifesteal, maybe. Remind me if that's correct. And then the moonshot damage, maybe Calibrum's the sniper. That rings a bell. So that'll be bonus damage on the sniper. That obviously if you land the Q, then the bonus auto attack. So pretty cool. Aurora. So again, very strong champion. And again, Aurora has been a champion that's been very tricky to make work in pro play because her kit is broken. It's that simple. And again, she has a tendency to end up in top lane when she's viable, because the thing with Aurora, her kit is broken, fundamentally. In mid lane, she can do okay in mid. But in top lane, if she's in a viable state, she makes the enemy top laner basically not want to live. That's what she does. You can't touch this champion if you're playing a stereotypical top laner, because she's too mobile, she has a W stealth thing, and I've finally got on top of her, she's ulted and then teleported the other side of the map. Or the other side of the screen. And her damage is incredibly high. So it's a bit of a nightmare to make this champion viable in a healthy way. So she is getting some changes. So her base magic resist is going up, and her ultimate is also being buffed. And you might be thinking, what? What they're trying to do, and it probably, dare I say, it won't really work, because these aren't nerfs at all to be played in top lane. These are buffs to mid lane. So they're trying to dangle the carrot on the stick, going, hey, look, you got more magic resist. Hey, look, your ulti does more damage. You can burst other mid laners. Play it mid. But then other people and pros that have played it top lane will go, but I have an easier time in top and you've just given me buffs. Why would I just not play it top? So I don't really see this working. How they should have nerfed, by the way, for top lane, reduce movement speed. Do a 5 movement speed nerf, and that would have been a much bigger nerf for top lane specifically. Azir! Obviously, one of the best pro champions in League of Legends, one of the best Apex tier champions in League of Legends. I will say today, you'll be seeing the content in a few days' time. I had a pretty decent recording session on the main account. Last game of the day, I had an Azir mid lane. Apex tier Azir main, he was very good. He just fits Apex tiers. He fits pro play. That's the type of champion he is. So his movement speed is being nerfed, and his attack speed per level is being nerfed. Double nerfs. And again, so I'd imagine his win rate is probably not fantastic, but that's the thing with Azir. He's a very hard to play champion, and he excels in Apex plus tiers, including pro play, where players are actually good. So they have to nerf him in kind of a preemptive. If we don't nerf Azir, he will be the strongest mid laner in the whole of MSI. So, yeah, they're just giving him a slight nerf, but I do feel sorry for solo queue Azir players, especially if you're like, I don't know, an Emerald Azir main. This hurts you quite a lot, and you're probably not using the champion to the absolute fullest, so this will sting. But yeah. Bard, movement speed increased. I don't really feel he needs to be buffed at all. He's a very popular champion, but here's the reason why. He's on the cusp of being viable in pro play, or high levels in pro. So they just want, again, this is a buff to force him being played in MSI. Belveth, our cast range increased. Ooh. Whoa, that's a big change. So, oh wow. Damn, okay, so her cast range for ultimate was always 275, which isn't a crazy long distance, but it's like a ranged auto attack. It can now go up to 450, which it matches her E attack range, which I guess makes sense. But 450 is considerable. That is that little bit of difference of like, I can't quite get there. Boom, she can now get there, get her ultimate, get into her void true form, and then take over. So that's a pretty big buff. That probably is because of pro play as well, and a bug fix too. Garen, they can't make this champion work. The problem again that you've got is basic champs have been too strong for a very long time, so they've had to nerf some of them. And I'll be straight up, if I had to honestly guess, communities of these basic champions that get nerfed, they probably freak out. Because imagine if you're a Garen main and Garen's been way too strong for like over a year, and then he finally gets nerfs that he's needed for a long time, and now you can't play the game in Apex tiers. Like, I don't see Garen's anymore because he got nerfed. That then player goes, but I've climbed from Emerald 1 to Master in the last year. I'm really good. No, they were just playing Garen for the last year, and now they're struggling to play in Master or Apex tiers, and they've gone down to like Diamond 3 in 2 weeks. They're the type of people that are like really panicking and going, Riot, what are you doing? So, yeah. Basically, Garen's just not supposed to be the type of champion that should be played in Apex tiers, but for some reason, Riot's recent philosophy with the game, and there are two sides to the coin, you know. Oh, every champion should be played in all ratings, but I don't think that's a good and healthy way to balance the game. Do I think Azir should be played in Iron? Hell no. Definitely not. Does that mean then I'm like, oh, should Garen be played in Challenger? Hell no. I think it's fine that some champions are more like generic and they can be played in all ratings, but I think it's okay to have champions that are more Apex tier skewed, Diamond plus, Master plus skewed. And there's also champions that shouldn't really be touched in Apex tiers, and they should be more lower rating skewed, like Master E and stuff. But for some reason, in the last year or two, they've had the philosophy of, no, make Garen and Master E and Warwick even viable in really high rating. It ain't the healthiest thing. And I'll be honest, I've used these champions. You guys have seen my climb in the last couple months, getting all the way to like 230 LP. I've used Garen. I've used Warwick because they're broken. And I will say, I do think there is such a thing, and me and my Twitch chat have spoken about it, that a Garen main or a Warwick main will be worse than let's say another top lane main jumping on their champion. If you put a Riven one trick on Warwick or Garen, they will be better than a Garen one trick or Riven, or a Garen or a Warwick one trick on their own champion, because Riven is so much harder to play, and there isn't mechanics to Garen or Warwick. But a Riven will maximize what they can do, where a Garen main or a Warwick main, they won't be maximizing because they're just playing a basic champ. I do think a part of it is that. Like, my Garen win rate is 75 or 80%, and most of my games in that have been in Master. I think there is something in that kind of world, but they still have been too strong. So, what are they actually doing? So the E, obviously Judgment. Judgment's damage will increase from 100 to... Okay, so they're fixing a bug that was about armor shredding, so that's a pretty big buff. And then the actual damage, it's an early game nerf, potentially? Yeah, it's an early game nerf, kinda. But when you get 100 total AD, and total AD is including your base champion AD, plus AD that you purchase, which Stridebreaker obviously has AD. So when you get 100 AD, this is now only a buff as the game goes on. But they also want him to potentially go Spirit Shojin now, by the way. So they're pushing towards that. Gwen, obviously incredibly strong champion. Base health decreased, W cooldown increased. So yeah, making her a little bit squishier, but not much. And her W cooldown, which is like the invulnerability thing, is a longer cooldown too, making it less easy to trade, especially in the early game. Fair enough. Mr. Jack's passive attack speed increased. Ooh, okay. So yeah, Mr. Jax. The thing that Jax has got, dare I say, why Jax, you know, if you think of top lane meta recently, it's been pretty basic champions, all dedicated to just 1v1ing mainly and killing towers. Jax should be all over that. I actually just don't think Jax is in the same, honestly, level of strength that other top laners are. He's basic and he can kill towers, but I don't know. I just don't see him in the same vein as, I don't know, a Trundle, a Set, stuff like that. He probably is okay, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a me thing that I just don't think of him in that way. Kalista, again, very pro-skewed AD carry. And again, she was in the holy trinity of champions that Riot actually gave up on balancing for a time. Riot named 3 champions that they said we can't balance them. We don't know how to balance them. We're giving up on them. And that was Kalista, Ryze, and Azir. Those were the holy trinity of pro play, basically. Because, again, the problem that you've got with those 3 champions, they're hard to play, and they're insanely good if you're a pro and you are very good at the game. But then you put little Timmy, who's in gold, trying to play Kalista for the first time, and he's doing terribly, and go, this champion is so weak. But in the hands of a pro, they're insanely good. That's the problem that you've got. So they are hard to balance, but it is what it is. So the base health is going down, and the cooldown on Q is going down. So small, again, like Azir, preemptive nerfs, basically in preparation for MSI. LeBlanc. E damage increased, R cooldown decreased. Ooh, buff. Very nice. High tempo, fun, roaming mid laner for MSI is entertaining. So that's probably why she's getting buffed. So damage is going up on her E, and her cooldown for her ultimate is going down 5 seconds. That's a pretty big buff. That's very nice. That's cool. Again, the problem that you've got with LeBlanc is you fundamentally have to snowball, realistically, to be useful. Like, if you're a LeBlanc versus a Victor, and the Victor gets a free lane phase, LeBlanc doesn't punish him at all, Victor will take over and win the game. But if a LeBlanc gets ahead, she roams, she gets a bot lane a double kill, she roams top lane, puts the enemy top laner behind, she creates tempo, then the Victor is sweating because I can't carry right now. So that's the kind of thing with LeBlanc. Cool champion, though. Ah, there it is, the Mr. Lee Sin pro play buff that he always gets. There are 2 times in the year that Lee Sin will get a buff: MSI and Worlds. Always. He is a very fun staple jungler for League of Legends. Used to be the poster child of the game back in season 3 and 4, but then basically the community grew tired of him, so Riot kind of put him away in the closet for like near a decade. But they dust him off a couple times a year because he is still very, very fun. So his E is getting a buff, 1 second buff for his E, and the slow amount is going up in the early game, down in the late game, but that's fine because Lee Sin kind of falls off anyway. So yeah, a 1 second buff that will also help his clear speed, everything. So that's cool. Not a crazy big buff, but enough that it will basically make pros who like Lee Sin, they'll play him in MSI. And for obviously Lee Sin mains and solo queue, they'll be happy too, because there are a decent amount of Lee Sin mains. Mordekaiser, Q damage increased. Ooh, okay. So obviously I do play Mord. He is in my champion pool. There might even be a Mord video coming soon. I don't remember. I played him yesterday. I just don't remember if it's a video or not. Damage. Okay, so it's the base damage is going up, ramping up, starting at rank 2. Eventually it's a 20 damage buff at rank 5. So again, it's not a big damage buff, but it's more just to help with wave clear and stuff like that, but that's fine. Nico, Q and W damage decreased. So yeah, she's a lane bully poke champion, especially for support. Obviously it's worth knowing, you know, she can be played in Apex tiers, but obviously everybody in Apex tiers, everyone in pro play, they'll know about the basic way to counter a Nico is you basically pay attention to the scoreboard, you pay attention to if her image is either highlighted or has a question mark, because that will tell you if she's visible on the map or not. But obviously you can't always react to what she's doing, and then those are the moments that she needs to maximize. But realistically, a lot of her strength in bot lane isn't about being stealthed. It isn't about using her camouflage ability. It's just her Q, like just throwing a Q on an enemy AD carry or support, pressing, like having W auto attack buff. She just does a lot of poke damage. So that's actually more of her strength, and that's what they're trying to nerf a bit. So base damage is going down considerably in the early game, but she's getting an AP buff. So it's flattened, you know, rank 5, with a 10% AP ratio. So it's better in the long run, but it's just less annoying in the early game. And she is getting a 10 damage nerf across the board for her auto attack bonus with the W. That's fine. E. So obviously, Nidalee, again, pro play skewed champion, Apex tiered champion, because she is high risk, high reward, but also quite specialist. So there are some junglers that, you know, they just have specialized in Nidalee over the years. And she is fun to watch. So when while Nidalee has appeared in pro play more often lately, it's often been due to her strength as a top laner. Okay, I don't watch pro play, obviously, so I didn't know people are playing a top. What are they doing? So they are just giving a nerf? No, a buff. Her E Cougar form, the AoE damage is being AP ratio buffed by 15% AP. Damn, that's considerable. Nice. Okay. Whoa. Oh, so this is Rammus's mid scope. So yeah, he's getting a bit of an update. So we're giving Rammus an update with the 3 main goals. We'd like to retain him as an anti-auto attack tank, but within that umbrella, allow him to be successful when tanking magic damage auto attacks, as well as the hope that he can be picked outside of last pick against full AD team comps. True. Second, we'd like to punch up a few of his abilities, giving more impactful power balls and soaring slams by front loading more of these abilities. And then third, we'd like to remove some needless complexity from the champion that required exact ability sequencing that simply had the right answer with no room for finesse. Our hope for this update are that Rammus will be viable tank in more situations. Still strongly in love with Thornmail, but overall. So they're trying to potentially add some skill expression to the champion, because again, Rammus doesn't really have any skill expression at all. So the base armor is going down, armor growth is going down, level 1 attack speed is going up, and the base attack damage is going up. This has been removed, but the new one for his passive is Rammus now gains 15% of his total armor and magic resist as bonus AD. Oh snap! He gonna be doing damage. He'll be slapping people like crazy. Q magic Powerball is going up in terms of his damage, starting at rank 2. Okay. The W, the kind of bread and butter of doing damage to people, combined with his taunt. Duration is going up to 7 seconds. W duration is no longer increased on basic attacks, though. Okay, that's quite big. Bonus armor is going down. Yeah, is just genuinely going down in terms of base and percentage. Bonus magic resist, however, is probably being buffed. Yeah. So the magic resist is going up. So instead of just 10, you're getting 27 by pressing W and gaining a lot more down the line. The reflected damage. Oh, so this is where you're going to be doing more damage too. The reflected damage is obviously the armor calculation. That is technically going down on armor. But you're also gaining 10% of total magic resistance that you own. So, or have. So overall, if you're building more balanced armor and MR, you'll be probably doing more damage overall. Rammus W now properly reflects damage from Dragon's basic attacks. Same as Thornmail. Oh, wow, that's kind of cool. So, yeah. He's basically, they're trying to turn him into more a well-rounded armor and magic resist tank, not just a specialist armor. Because to be honest, we've got Malphite as well as a pure armor tank. So having 2 pure armor tanks was kind of redundant. And then the taunt, it no longer gives him a bonus attack speed. What the heck? But he now deals damage to monsters on cast. Does not deal damage to champions, though. Then the slam is being nerfed in the early game in terms of how long the cooldown is. It's flattened at rank 3. The initial damage is going up, however. So more damage on the actual landing. R no longer deals bonus damage, though, in the middle. Aftershock damage removed. The slow of it is going up massively, but doesn't stack anymore. What the heck? This seems like nerfs, kinda, though. The only thing that I could see that this could be an actual buff, like, to a pure armor team, like a pure AD team, this is a nerf. Obviously, they're trying to open him up to not just be that specialist against AD champions. The only thing that I could see as this being not a complete, if I'm honest, disaster is this. Will he actually do decent auto attack damage because of that? Because, like, where Rammus right now, you're not scared of his auto attacks. When he actually auto attacks you in mid to late game, it's like, whoa, that actually hurt. Maybe that is what this is, but I don't know. I'm not sure I like it, but we'll see. Rumble. Q damage decreased, E slow decreased. So again, Rumble is a very much pro play centric top laner. Obviously, a lot of top laners, especially top laners, are very tanky, health orientated, and Rumble burns them alive with percentage damage. So they're nerfing that, which I will say I'm fine with nerfing it, but they should also be nerfing the stuff that why Rumble is like. Rumble is only really popular right now because of how good he is against the stacking health champions. So why aren't they nerfing the stacking health champions? Mundo, Cho'Gath. Again, Cho'Gath, I've had some absolute banger games recently. He got nerfed last patch. It wasn't a nerf. It didn't do anything. I said it in the patch, it wouldn't have done anything. It didn't do anything. So, yeah, I'm interested to why they're not nerfing that, but we'll see. I do have a theory. If people want to hear my theory, Riot, obviously, a lot of the time nowadays, buffs or nerfs because of data, not because of game knowledge. And I have a theory that a lot of the basic health stacking champions, their data is probably not showing that they need nerfs. Probably because a lot of people that play those champions aren't very good. That's my theory. You know, look at the Mundo thing at the moment. Aloys has made, you know, tripled, quadrupled Mundo's pick and ban rate. A lot of those players will not be very good at the game. They'll be watching him, looking how he makes it easy, but without realizing actually how he's playing, because he is playing well to pull it off perfectly. They'll try to replicate it in their own games. So yes, his pick rate, it goes up. People are banning it because they just don't want to deal with it. But they're not winning a lot because they're not pulling it off very well. That's the thing. Aloys makes it look overpowered, but it is and it isn't. You know, it is if you get away with the playstyle, but it isn't if people know what to do against it. So I don't think the champs that, you know, the health stacking, warmogs, everything, it needs probably nerfs just for it to go away for a while, but it probably isn't in their parameter of data to actually nerf because people aren't winning that much on them. So yeah, he's getting some nerfs of the target's maximum health. So that's actually a 2% nerf, which is a lot, by the way, when you're talking of thousands of health. So that's a big amount. And then the slow of his E is also being nerfed. So double nerfs a Rumble. One of the best anti-tank options for top lane. Samira, passive bonus move speed increase, Q damage increase. So I will say Samira doesn't need buffs. They just want this champion in MSI because she's an exciting champion that gets pentakills even in pro play. Spoiler alert, I had a Samira in my game today. She got a pentakill. That's what Samira does. So, yeah, she doesn't need one, but it is what it is. So, this style, bonus movement speed, she's getting more movement speed. Which obviously, is it more movement speed earlier in the game? Yeah, it's more movement speed earlier into the game, so she gets the same movement speed later into the game, but earlier she can make more impact. And then the Q base damage is going up, so helping with early game and stuff like that. Okay, Senna, I called it. Oh my god, I literally called it that this Senna thing was going to get nerfed again. Riot cannot balance this champion in the way that they want. You cannot have a champion that is both an AD carry and support. It is impossible. Like, they need to get over that fact. It is impossible. So you cannot have a champion that is both an AD carry and support. It just won't work. So every time that they go, right, we're going to increase her drop chance of souls, because that's all the champion is strength, is the soul system of her passive. Whether she's AD carry or support doesn't matter. But if they increase the drop rate when she kills the minions, she can be played AD carry now. But in the same thing of going, that's not a good idea, let's then nerf it. It happens all the time. So once again, the soul rate drop chance of her killing minions has once again been nerfed. It's now down to 10% from 14. Now, I'll be honest, I don't think she's that good. In pro play, I bet she's fantastic as an AD carry. In solo queue, I think she sucks. I've not really seen any AD carry centers that I've massively gone, oh yeah, that's a great AD carry. Every single Senna that I've seen as an AD carry, they could have just been playing support and they would have done the exact same thing. That's the problem with the champion. Just make her a support. In my opinion, they need to get out of the weird fantasy of making her both. Just have her as a support. She does the same job as support that she does AD carry. The difference is you can actually have an AD carry, proper AD carry with a Senna. It works better. But yeah, shocker. Shen. So hilariously, these turns out if you buff a champion 5 patches in a row, he's probably going to need some nerfs. And hilariously, Riot was not going to nerf this champion. The patch preview came out a week ago, and the amount of outrage that people said, "Oh, you are not nerfing Shen," made Riot go, "Okay, we'll nerf Shen." Even people like XP2 and champion mains of Shen, obviously he's a very popular champion to main, he's a very fun champion in my opinion, they have been asking for nerfs. Because the problem that you've got, and I've said this forever, if you specialize in one champion, let's give the XP2 example, very insanely good Shen player, one of the best in the world. What happens when Shen is, let's say, average in strength for a few years? He gets to play Shen every game, you know? Every now and then Shen may be picked, but oh, that's annoying, I'll dodge it. Every few days I'll have to dodge a game if Shen is picked against me and I can't play it. But for years, I can just play Shen. Well, then suddenly, 5 patches in a row he gets buffs or whatever, he's then suddenly one of the strongest champions in the game. Well, oh, my opponent keeps picking Shen, I can't play him, or Shen keeps getting banned. Your specialist one-trick champ, you now can't play. It's a disaster when a one-trick specialist gets their champion, or their champion becomes, in essence, overpowered, because you actually get to play your champion a lot less. So even though you might think, oh, I'm a specialist of that champion, it's going to be great for me when they're really strong, it's quite the opposite, because you actually don't get to play a champion much. So Shen mains have actually been asking for nerfs, so they actually can try and get their champion back. So yeah. And by the way, I'm fine with this nerf. I play Shen. He's my most played champion on my main account this season. Nerf him. That's fine. So once again, though, the nerf that they're doing, the damage is all about the bonus health. Now, obviously, bonus health in the game is currently very strong. Heart Steel, all that stuff is granting so much health. His damage, however, has been ridiculously high. Part of the damage is his Q, and they're not touching that. A lot of it is his Q. But where I'd say a lot of people are not understanding that his Shen's taunt does a lot of damage too, yeah, it was doing 15% of his bonus HP. So if Shen had 5,000 health, that taunt was doing like 650 or whatever bonus damage on you. It's like, whoa. Or 600 damage, roughly, damage extra. So where, you know, at rank 5, that taunt could have been doing 650, 700 damage, and people were just like, what the heck? Yeah, to an AD carry, that's dealing like a lot of damage, just the taunt. So they are nerfing it to 11% from 15. So it is going to hurt his damage. But again, Shen has been doing too much damage, 100%. They do need to nerf the other champions who are also in this situation, who are building very tanky and are also doing too much damage. Cho'Gath, Mundo, just to name a couple. Talia, base MR decreased, Q damage decreased. So playing in mid may be too consistent in high rating play. So making her a little bit squishier and making her empowered damage, which obviously is the worked ground, making that do less damage as well. Twisted Fate, obviously pro play skewed champion. They were very careful. I imagine they're going to be very careful with buffing this champion in any regard, because they do not want a repeat of AD Twisted Fate in top lane, because that was one of the worst metas in League of Legends history. Literally, by far. It was awful. Cassante and Twisted Fate in top lane against each other every game. So the bonus attack speed is going up for his E. When he levels his E, gets bonus attack speed. And his ultimate is going down on cooldown. Hilariously, that isn't terrible for top lane Twisted Fate, but I think this is more supposed to be mid lane changes, that he does use unsealed spellbook to try and have high tempo using different summoners around the map. Varus, base armor decrease, making him squishier because he's too reliable. Vi, obviously they nerfed Vi to be less burst reliant, and that's kind of what her main strength was. She's not as good as just a straight up bruiser. So W damage adjusted, bonus attack speed decreased, and E damage adjusted 2. So flattened damage. Ooh. So target max health damage used to be 10%, it's now 8%, but it's more bonus AD skewed, so it'll be better in late game, and less attack speed. So each auto attack will be doing more damage in terms of bonus health as the game goes on. But yeah. And then the E bonus damage, again, getting rid of... Oh, no, it's not. It's nerfing its AD ratio. So they basically have moved the damage probably from the E to the W, but obviously you're combining them together, so that kind of feels pointless. Weird. Yorick, again, another arguably too strong basic champion. Mistwalker bonus attack speed adjusted, Q damage decreased. So Yorick's late laning phase spike this patch, where he quickly becomes an unassailable until eventually falling off a cliff. So Mistwalker attack speed is going down? No, she's getting her own attack speed, not based of Yorick's. Okay. And then the Q is being flattened, lower damage. So Mistwalker will be more damagey, I guess. Fair enough. Zeri, obviously pro play champion. Another champion going to be shocking when she makes it to the pro scene. Obviously MSI coming. Her R is being buffed. Oh, they really want Zeri in pro play. Holy. So buffs in terms of base damage, buff in terms of bonus AD damage, and buff in terms of the chain lightning damage of AD. They want Zeri played in MSI. Oh god, okay. Runes ranged effectiveness is going down to 40%. I'm happy with that because the amount of like victors that take it is just annoying. So yeah, it's worse for range champions. I do think it probably should have been nerfed in general. I will say I think it is too strong in general at the moment, but there's that. Atakan. We are retuning Atakan's spawn logic in order to make top lane versus bot lane spawns more equal, basically. He currently spawns too often in bot lane. I mean, that makes sense, though. If it's about action, you know, where the action and where kills are happening, there's 4 people in bot lane, there's 2 people in top. It should happen more in bot lane than top. Okay. Dragon, we're fixing a long-standing bug where all dragon attacks are almost basic attacks, but we're missing a few key tags. So they'll behave more like epic monster attacks and interact with Thornmail, Rammus, and Jax as expected. Okay, and there you go. So that is it, I believe. Obviously, there's some ARAM changes, some Brawl changes. Clash is happening. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to play. There's a chance. I might be able to play on June 21st. June 22nd is quite a big day in my life. Believe it or not, and I don't mind saying, my parents are meeting Queen Pleb's parents for the first time ever. And if you're like, Huz, that probably shouldn't have happened a while ago. Yeah, it probably should have, but we just haven't had time. Like, genuinely, people have been busy, or weekends have never aligned. But considering we're getting married later this year, it's finally happening. So yeah, that'll be fun. So yeah, all this stuff, little bug fixes here and there we go. That's a cool skin. I like the Pike one. That's a cool splash art. The Renekton one's kind of cool too. Anyway, that's going to be it. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. As always, as well, I'll be getting this edited, uploaded as today's second video. So if you appreciate the effort, please do throw a like on the video. Let me know what you think. Please do subscribe. We actually, here on Huzzy Extra, have just hit over 12,000 subscribers. So, where obviously Huzzy Games, we are losing subs and have done for the last few years, which is, again, normal for a 10-year-old plus channel that, never made it to the big leagues. This Huzzy Extra channel is actually growing, so that's kind of cool. But as always, thanks guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the upcoming content, which I will say I'm overall very happy with how the recording sessions have been going in the last couple of days, returning to the main account. Anyway, peace.
Welcome to the Rift, where the legends play. It's Huzzy Games bringing skill every day. From tips to tricks and play so fine, you'll learn the game and have a good time. Join the family tree. Like, comment, and subscribe. Keep the Huzzy dream alive.